Anti-Semitism, Anti-Zionism, and the UCLA Controversy. Untangling the Rhetoric and Reality by Donald Harvey Marks. Physician, scientist, and third-generation veteran. Much has been made recently of the history of blatant anti-Semitism in Ivy League schools on the East Coast of the United States and centrally. I've even observed what I personally consider to be anti-Semitic activity in a smallish university close to me, Drew, definitely past tense, University in Madison, New Jersey. Unlike in the 1920s, 1930s, and 1940s, where anti-Semites were identified as fascist and ultra-conservatives, it's very clear from activities at UCLA, my alma mater, USC, Ivy Leagues, Drew and others, that the new anti-Semite is more likely to be a liberal, a leftist, or a communist. Anti-Semitism, at its core, refers to prejudice, discrimination, or hostility against Jews as a people, religion, or ethnic group. Its manifestations range from derogatory speech and stereotypes to systemic exclusion, violence, and genocide. Anti-Semitism is not a mere disagreement with certain Jewish individuals or policies. It is an ideology rooted in centuries-old myths, scapegoating, and dehumanization. Zionism, by contrast, is the movement supporting the right of the Jewish people to self-determination in their ancestral homeland, culminating in the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. One can debate aspects of Israeli politics, government policies, or treatment of Palestinians, criticism that exists both inside and outside Israel and the Jewish diaspora in general, without being anti-Semitic. However, the line is crossed when such criticism morphs into delegitimization of Israel's very existence, denial of Jewish self-determination, or the use of classic anti-Semitic tropes. Anti-Zionism in its purest form, and contrasted to anti-Semitism, opposes the idea of a Jewish state. While some anti-Zionists claim their stance is strictly political, rooted in opposition to nationalism or to specific Israeli policies, in practice, the rhetoric often slips into anti-Semitism. For example, targeting Jewish individuals or institutions unrelated to Israeli policy, holding Jews collectively responsible for the actions of the Israeli government, or applying double standards to Israel not applied to other nations are all considered anti-Semitic by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, IHRA, definition. This is why the claim, "I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm just anti-Zionist," must be examined critically. While it's possible to oppose Israeli policies without prejudice against Jews, history shows that many who adopt the anti-Zionist label use it as a socially acceptable veneer for anti-Semitic sentiment. Hiding behind the anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism slogan often functions as a rhetorical shield, enabling individuals to deny prejudice while promoting ideas that echo long-standing anti-Semitic narratives. There is historical evidence that the University of California system, like many U.S. universities in the first half of the 20th century, informally limited the admission of Jewish students, though the UC system did not have official, written Jewish quotas like some Ivy League schools. This was often justified under euphemisms like geographic diversity, character, or fit. At the University of California, Berkeley, and later UCLA, admissions were nominally merit-based, but historians have found evidence that admissions officers and professional schools applied subjective criteria, interviews, letters, character assessments, in ways that reduced Jewish representation. Unlike Harvard's openly discussed cap in the 1920s, 15% Jewish, Univ of California policies were more covert, using subjective personality ratings, geographic balance, and alumni interview reports to shape class composition. I definitely was aware of a strong undercurrent of anti-Semitism in Southern and Central California during my high school years in the 1960s, culminating in my graduation from Hollywood High School in 1967. Although I did not take part in political activities while a student at UCLA, I did attend school there from 1993 to 2000. In 1997, I received a PhD in microbiology from the now Department of Microbiology, Immunology, and Medical Genetics. In 2000, I received my medical degree from the David Geffen School of Medicine. By the early 21st century, UCLA had become home to a vibrant Jewish community. Yet this period was also marked by an increasingly polarized debate over the Israel-Palestine conflict, which would soon spill into open controversy. In 2014, several student organizations supported a pledge to boycott Israel-sponsored educational trips. The episode highlighted a growing rift on campus between advocates of the boycott, divestment, and sanctions (BDS) movement and Jewish students who saw such actions as targeting their identity. The aftermath of Hamas of October 7, 2023, attack on Israel triggered the most severe wave of anti-Semitic hate incidents to date in UCLA's modern history. In spring 2024, a pro-Palestinian encampment effectively blocked access to central campus areas for Jewish students, with protesters establishing what some described as a Jew exclusion zone. Jewish students and faculty reported being harassed, threatened, and in some cases, physically assaulted. Swastikas appeared on classroom boards, and demonstrators carried signs reading "Israelis are native to hell." From the underreported biases of the 1960s to the overt hostility of the 2020s, the history of anti-Semitism at UCLA mirrors broader American trends, initially hidden, then simmering in political disputes, and finally exploding into public crisis. The university now faces a defining test: whether it can preserve the principle of free speech while guaranteeing the safety and dignity of its Jewish community. Recent events at UCLA underscore the dangers of blurring the distinction between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. Reports from the Los Angeles Jewish community and national watchdog organizations describe a troubling increase in hostile campus incidents targeting Jewish students at a number of universities, including UCLA, USC, Ivy Leagues, and Drew. These overview hospital and subtle activities include harassment, exclusion from campus groups, and intimidation during public events. In late July 2025, Jewish student leaders at UCLA publicly accused certain faculty members and student groups of fostering an environment hostile to Jews under the guise of anti-Zionism. The allegations point to situations where opposition to Israeli policy quickly turned into targeting Jewish individuals, regardless of their political stance on Israel. Conflating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism is dangerous in both directions. For the Jewish community, it risks allowing open prejudice to flourish unchecked under the cover of political activism. For legitimate critics of Israeli policy, it risks having their arguments dismissed outright as bigotry. It seems to me that the key is to evaluate not just the stated intent of speech or action, but its content, tone, and real-world effects. If rhetoric about Israel relies on anti-Semitic stereotypes, denies Jews equal rights afforded to other peoples, or singles out Jewish individuals or institutions for harm, then is crossed into anti-Semitism, regardless of whether the speaker claims otherwise.